good, good. We may need to also stream. Let's wait. Okay, we're on Facebook already. We're live. Welcome to your families and mental wellness. Honey, we need to, I'm trying to highlight, spotlight me, but it's not letting me. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, this is not the view that I wanted, but we can live with it. Okay, guys, welcome to your family and mental wellness. Your family and mental wellness. For the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about suicide. It's a taboo. It used to be something we don't talk about. It still is for a lot of cultures. Where I come from, among the Igbos, it is a taboo. If someone dies from suicide, I don't know what they do now, but at least my dad told me that in those days they don't bury someone that died of suicide. They basically would take the person somewhere inside the jungle and throw the body away. They don't do those things. So it's a taboo culturally, but medically it's not. It's not. We now have patterns. We now have risk factors. We have symptoms. We know why people commit suicide. Basically, we know. We know what they do, what leads to suicide. So it's really not the devil or the all those things that we talk about. So we've talked about the risk factors. People who have the tendency, um, who are likely to have to commit suicide or at least have suicidal thoughts. We've talked about the symptoms. What do we see that will tell us that this person may be having suicidal ideation or maybe thinking about ending their life? Those are the two sessions we've had the last 2 weeks. So you may go back and look at that. The title is Let's Talk About Suicide. This is a very critical topic for us to discuss. And more important, if you are a professional, if you are a leader, you for a pastor, you have people who are under you, whether you're a community leader or religious leader, these skills are necessary. If you are a parent now, they are also necessary. We don't always know what our kids are dealing with, what they are struggling with. It's important to know the risk factors. And if you and your family fall into that, then your antenna should be up. And then you know the warning signs so that you identify them before we get there. Today we'll begin to talk about how do we care and help someone who has the tendency, who falls into those risk factors. And those risk factors are many people who are suffering from a terminal illness, people who have mental illness, depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, those high-end personality disorders that don't go away. Eventually, those people get tired. Just yesterday, I was assessing a man, I think he's 55 years old. He told me that I was asking him, I read his assessment that someone else did, and I said, I read it, he said, thinking about cutting my throat. So I read it to him. I said, did this person make this up or is this what you said? And he said, yes, I said that. And I meant it. And I thought it. And I asked him, why? How did we get here? He said, well, I don't think I'm useful. I don't think I'm useless. I can't see any need for me to be alive. I'm not helping anybody. I'm hurting people more than I'm helping. So those are risk factors. He lives alone. He's lost his job. He has a failing illness. His wife has left him. His children don't care. So that's a risk factor. So there are many of them. Go watch that video. That's not what we're doing today. I want to focus on care. Now, in caring for someone who is dealing with mental illness. There are three different people that I'm speaking today. One, the professionals. Your responsibility as a professional is different. Two, the person that is suffering from mental illness, that has had suicidal ideation before, that constantly has suicidal ideation. Or, and three, the parents, people, the caregivers. You're not a professional, but you happen to have a family member, you happen to have someone that you care for, or people that are under you who are having suicidal thoughts. In other words, you're not a therapist, you're not a psychiatrist, you're not a coach, you're not of those, you're not a counselor, but you happen to be a layperson who has responsibility to keep people alive. Because that's what this is about, keeping people alive. Once someone crosses that threshold, it's over. There's nothing else we can do. And that's why we take it serious. So if you are a professional, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to start from you, your responsibility a little bit. And then if you're a caregiver, I'm also going to talk about you. If you are a person who has mental illness, who has terminal illness, or who's had these thoughts before, I will start from you. What do you do? And what we are using is simple. There are, if you log into a website, shamsa.org, SAMHSA, you will be able to pull documents. You will pull manuals on suicide care. They are the same. So what we use is what they call, which is the most popular one, Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale. That's what the most professionals use. You can't hear anything. I hope it's just you. I hope it's not everybody that can hear anything.
Honey, you can pause. You're recording.
Okay. Okay. I'm not wanting to pause. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. If you can't hear anything, it's probably you. So that's what we are using. Now, let me talk to those who have suicidal ideation. What do you do when you begin to have suicidal ideation? What you do is tell somebody. That's the number one thing you want to do. If this is you, you got to talk to somebody, tell them that you are thinking about not being alive anymore. You don't have to be graphic. Tell a professional. And if you're a parent that your child says, this is what I'm thinking, you need to take it serious. Again, growing up, if you say things like that, people are, elders are going to shut you down. Say, shut up your mouth. What are you talking about? And that's the end of it. Nobody wants to hear it. This is 22nd century. We got to hear it and take it serious. That's how people die. Tell somebody right away. Tell somebody. If you have a doctor, psychiatrist, a therapist, call them and say, this is how I'm feeling. I'm not feeling like living anymore. I wish I wasn't here anymore. If I go to bed and I don't wake up tomorrow, I'll be very happy that it's over. If those are your thoughts, that suicidal ideation, you're thinking it, call somebody that you trust, call your doctor. If you have a 911 where you are, 911 meaning emergency call. In many jurisdictions, they have different numbers, and 911 just happen to be what they use in the US. So call 911. If you have a suicide hotline, call them. And I'm going to give you that number. It's the US number, but if you call them from wherever you are, they're going to answer you. They're not asking where are you calling from. They will answer you. They will talk to you. They may not be able to get you the help that you need because the help that they have is within the US, but at least they can talk you out of it or help you to navigate it. And that number is 1-800-273-8255. I'll repeat, 1-800 273-8255. If you can call an international number and you don't have one within your jurisdiction, or you are a professional, call that number. It's a national number that you can call. It's called the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That's really what it does. They give you lifeline. If you are in the US, what they normally will do is they will talk to you. If they assess that you are serious, you are in danger, they will call the police. They don't need to tell you. They will call the police right away. Police will show up on your door. And 9 out of 10 times, the person is ending up in the hospital. 9 out of 10 times. Because at that point, you make that call. If you're in the US, nobody wants to be responsible for anything that happened to you. So they are going to take it extra serious. The person, the counselor on the line, hears you, talks to you, decides that you're really serious. They want to call the police. The police, once they get that call, that they need to do a welfare check on this house, this address. And you really, if you're in the US, you don't need to give them address. From that phone call, they figure out where you are. They'll show up and then they will assess you. Police will assess you. If it's funny, they might leave you. But 9 out of 10 times, they will take the person straight to emergency hospital. From emergency, they end up in psych ward. That's the way it's done here. So for you, if you don't have that resources, all you may get is maybe tell you not to kill yourself, tell you, do you have a family member who is around you? Do you have anybody to call? Is there anybody they can call for you who can intervene? They will do those hand nine yards with you. So if you are one that has that tendency, or that sometimes you have that thinking, write this number boldly where you can see it, preferably by your bedside. Because those who have gotten to that point of suicidal ideation and attempt, you've already isolating. Most isolation, you isolate to your room. If you live alone, if you live with people, you isolate to your room. If you share a room with your people, most people isolate to their bed. So you want to put it by your bed where you can see it at that time and call. Put your doctor's number there where you can call, because at that time, you're not remembering the number of your doctor. When you're in crisis, you don't remember. So you have to prepare ahead of time. Write it where you can see it. If that's all you do, just dial the doctor's number and say, I need help. Hopefully, you have a good doctor. Hopefully, you have a good therapist who will take that serious. But if I were you, I probably will have the doctor's number, the 800 number, the therapist number, my pastor's number. So if this doesn't work, I'm calling the next person, because network problem, you may not be able to reach someone, but you gotta reach someone at that time. That if you are the sufferer, you have to reach someone. That's the key. Once you're able to reach the right person, that person takes over and allow them. Finally, what I'm going to say, allow them to take over. Give seed control. Because at that time, you're not thinking right. Don't resist it. I have patients that come to hospital. The first day they come, they hate the police officer that brought them. They hate their friend that called the police, because usually what happens is they call their best friend and say, I'm really thinking, I wish I'm not alive. Or they may call their best friend and say, look, my iPhone, you can have it. They start giving out their stuff. Those are signs that the person doesn't want to live. And hopefully their best friend is smart enough and say, what are you talking about? I'm going to get you help. They call the same number that I gave you and ask the number to call welfare, and police will show up and take it from there. Those people, when they come to me, they hate their friend that called the police. They hate their family members that brought them there. For the first day, give it 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. They are grateful. Now their eyes are clearing, head is clearing. Now they are understanding the severity of that thought, that they were one step away from not being here. And now they are grateful that, and where there's something I do when I do group therapy, I have them write a note to whoever, and I have them make a promise that once they get out of hospital, they're going to find that police officer and say thank you. They're going to call that best friend that called 911 for them and say, thank you. Because when that thing happened, they may have said, you stupid, I told you something in confidence and you called everybody. I could have called the police myself if I thought I needed police. So they go through that. So that's it for someone who is suffering. What's your way out? Your way out is to tell somebody. Hopefully, tell the right person, someone who can do something with it. Don't tell a village elder who will say, shut up. What are you talking about? So the next level of people that I say that I want to talk to, which my time that I have, the next people are the professionals. If you are a therapist, if you are a psychiatrist, you already know this. If you're a nurse, I hope you know this. Because this is a difference between someone living and someone dying. It is that serious. Your goal, your main focus, your thing is assessment, assessment, assessment. That's the key. And what are you assessing? The severity of the suicidal ideation. Where's this person? There are 3 levels or 4 levels that they may be thinking. They may just be a fleeting thought. I wish I wasn't here. You're going to get that a lot. The person is really not talking about that. But if they die, that's what my clients tell me. They say, well, I'm not thinking about killing myself, but I wouldn't mind if I go to bed and I don't wake up anymore. I'll be happy that I'm gone. It will be safer, it will be easier, more convenient for everybody. I think it's better that I just go to bed and not wake up. What are they saying? I don't want to leave. I don't want the responsibility of taking my life. I don't have the courage to take my life. I understand the consequences for those who are religious. That's what that person is saying. I wish someone would kill me and it's over. That's what they are saying. That's the first level. We are going to take that serious, but not as serious as, yeah, I've been thinking about it. Once the person says, I'm thinking about it, the next question would be, when was the last time you thought you had this thought? And the person says, I have it all the time. When was the last time? You want to pinpoint the last time. And he says, yesterday. If it's within 72 hours that they had that thought, by evidence base, you have to take that serious. That takes it to the next level of severity. Now, you got to assess for all those risk factors. Has anybody in your family committed suicide before? Are you having any mental illness? Are you going through any stress? What's going on with you? Are you an act? You got to go through all that. But the first step is, when was the last time you thought about this? He says, yesterday. It's within the last 72 hours. So we check, serious. The next thing is, what were you thinking about? Do you have a plan? Now we are taking it to the next level. Do you have a serious plan? And I may not say, well, do you have a plan? I might just say, how were you planning to accomplish this? And the person said, well, I haven't really thought about a plan. It just comes to my mind. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. Just think, and that's it. Then they don't have a plan. Or the person says, well, I really don't like pain. I've thought about using my gun, shooting myself. Or I've thought about doing an overdose, taking my medication, which you will get a lot. People take their medication because it's available, because they just can't swallow a lot of them, and hopefully hope that things would happen. So pinpoint what the plan is. What is your plan? How were you going to do it? If they don't have plan, it's good. If they have plan, that's another high level. The next level of assessment is, what is the availability of their plan? Someone says, well, I'm thinking about jumping from the bridge. And you look where they live, there's no bridge anywhere. You ask them, which bridge? Say, I don't know, any bridge. I'm going to just go drive around, go look for a bridge. Wherever bridge I see, I'm going to jump. So Now, it's severe, but it's not quite there because it's going to take effort to go find a bridge, to jump through a bridge. That's serious, that's severe. So that plan is good, but it's still serious. If a person says, I'll just shoot myself, and you ask them, do you have firearm? Do you have gun? So yeah, I have double barrel. I have whatever. It's always loaded. So that's very severe. Now we are going, he has the idea, he has the plan, he has the means of accomplishing that. The means is available. That's one that you elevate to very high risk. Something has to be done to separate this person from the weapon. We gotta separate him from that weapon, from that access. Or the person says, well, my plan is just to drive my car, drive into a trailer on the road. You know there are trailers all the place. You know that person can drive. There is access. We want to take that serious. Someone says, well, I want to just slit my throat. You know that there are a lot of knives around. It's easy to be done. We got to take it serious. So for a professional, what are we assessing? We are assessing the severity of the thought. Now, if they tell you they have this means, they have thinking, the ideation, they have a plan, they have access, the next thing that you're going to ask, have you already tried this before? Has there been an attempt? Did you try this? Because you say, yeah, I took like 20 tablets last night. I thought it was going to knock me off. It did not knock me off. That's an attempt right there. Or the person say, yeah, I tried it yesterday. I forgot my gun was not loaded and I did not have ammo in my house. That's the only reason why it didn't work. I took the gun, I pointed it to my neck, I shot it, but I forgot there was no bullet in it. That's an attempt. So that's really, really up there. Now we have thinking, ideation, we have plan, we have access, we have attempt. That's the highest of them. Anything beyond that is completion, and the person is really not before you. It's gone, it's over. So for a professional, we want to assess actual attempt, interrupted attempt, aborted attempt, other preparatory acts to kill the person, self-injury behavior with suicidal intent. Sometimes people do things like the accident that I was thinking about. Somebody might think about just hitting the vehicle, and instead of hitting, going under the trailer driver dodges them, they hit beside the trailer. And instead of dying, they're alive. They didn't die because it wasn't that severe. The trailer driver aborted the suicidal attempt. Or he was trying to he took overdose that would have killed him. Someone walks in and intervenes and takes him to hospital, and they pump the stomach. That's really what they do. And then they save the person. That's an attempt that was aborted. That was an attempt that was killed. And you're gonna ask this question for every one of them within the last 72 hours, lifetime, have you done this? Has there been an attempt? So for professionals, your key again is assessing for the severity of the suicidal ideation. But what's your key? If you are in a jurisdiction where you have a license, that's one quick way for your license to be yanked from you, for you to lose your license. That somebody called and said, I'm thinking about harming myself, and you did nothing. In fact, that's one way, not just your license, you're gonna get sued and sued and sued. So what people do generally is you take action for whatever you hear. You don't want to live to regret it. So even if it's a fleeting thought, I was just saying it, I didn't mean it. We're not waiting to find out whether they mean it or not. We take action. We pass. If you are a professional, we pass the ball to the next one. Go to police. We call the police. Police comes to you. It's out of my hand. I did what I'm supposed to do. Police takes those welfare call. Police takes the person to hospital. He says, it's out of my hand. The hospital does what they need to do, check, do, and then they discharge you. It's out of there. So that's what you do as a professional. Do your part. We're trying to save life. Now, the last people that I want to talk to are those who are caregivers, those who have responsibility, parents, school teachers, nurses, pastors, NGO leaders, youth leaders. If you have responsibility, community leaders, religious leaders, if people look up to you, let's say someone, you're a pastor, someone calls you and say, I really don't want to live. I really don't want to live. Now you gotta do the pastoral work. I'm not against that. You got to do the faith thing. You gotta knock it out of their head. You might pray for them. You might do all that with that person, and you gotta do more. And this person is having suicidal ideation, we bring him close. Now, what do we do? That person has to be observed 24/7. 24/7. You don't leave someone, especially if the assessment is that this person is serious, we have to have someone with this person 24/7. Let me tell you, I used to work in prison many years ago. If an inmate, prisoner, says, I want to kill myself, from the point he says, I want to kill myself, he has to be under watch for until he overcomes that. It may take 1 day, 2 days, 1 week. As long as he says, I want to do it, he has to be under watch. What is under watch? He has to be within 6 feet of somebody, within arm's length of someone. So what do they do in prison? They strip him of or her of all clothing. The person is stripped naked. They stay in a room all by themselves, well lit. The guard, the prison guard, sits in front of the room, in front of the cell, and has a direct contact. Every 15 minutes, he has to document what that guy is doing. The guy is sleeping. He's watching. He's talking to himself. He's pacing around. Why? Because it takes less than that for that to be accomplished. So for you, who is a caregiver, we may not be able to document every 15 minutes. That's cumbersome, but we gotta have somebody stay with that person until he or she snaps out of it, or until we get a professional. We hand it over to a professional who will do an assessment and decide that this person really means to kill themselves now, or they are thinking about it, but not seriously, they don't have a plan, or they need to be watched, or they need their medication. It may just be someone who is having depression, and that person is thinking, I don't need to live. They just need to be educated a little bit to snap out of it and think about serious and think about other things. How do we do it? One of the things that I do, one of the things that I'm required to do as a professional is to do what we call safety plan. That safety plan is what I'm going to work with us next week. Next week's edition will be safety plan. If you're a professional, it's something you need to do. That's what you agree with your client. That's what you write down. At the bottom of the safety plan that I'm going to be talking to you about next week is a question that you must remind your clients or the loved one, whoever you're counseling. You gotta go through this. That question says, what is that one thing that is important to you and what living for? And I'll let them make a sentence. I want one thing. So a lot of them would say my family. Some would say my daughter. Some would say my wife, my husband. But get them to begin to think. Remember, this person is thinking there's nothing worth living for. There's nothing worth being alive for. So we want them to think about that thing that is worth living for. That thing that they are going to miss. That person who would suffer if they're dead. That's the last thing that we want to get that person to be thinking. What is that one thing? A lot of people here would say my dog. I know if I'm dead, it's going to be euthanized. It's going to suffer. Nobody cares for it. It's my body. So I want to be alive for that dog. Wherever it is, that's their judgment. Don't say dog. No, that's that person. So we want them to think about a reason to be alive at that time. So, and that's what you leave them with. If you're on the phone and they are somewhere, you've made an arrangement for someone to watch them, you want to get there. You want to get there. That's all my time allows for today. If you are here, suicidal prevention and care. It's a whole topic. This Saturday, we are having an open house. If you're interested in being a certified mental health and addiction counselor, we have a 14-week course that will prepare you on how to identify who is an alcoholic, who's dealing with drugs, the interaction between family and addiction, and family and addiction treatment, family and addiction recovery, the role that family plays in making people, inducing people to become an addict, the role that they play in treatment, the role that they play in recovery. The family and support is central to the addict's life. We do all that in the course. If you want more information, this Saturday, join us. It's an open house. We're going to talk about all the 5 modules that we cover. We're going to talk about what you can do with that certification. We're going to talk about the other things, how you can set up your own rehab. That's the key. Remember, TeamFi is on a crusade. That crusade is to infuse therapeutic treatment and expand it in the whole of Africa. We need partners to do that. We can't be everywhere. So join us this Saturday for an info session on how you can become a certified a certified mental health and addiction counselor. It's a 14-week course. We start in January, actually on the 15th. By May, you've gotten all the rudiments. And not only that, we're going to stand by you. We're going to stand by you. If you want to open a rehab, we walk you through that. If you want to open a group home, we walk you through that. If you want to be in your own practice, we walk you through that. But above all, why I'm talking about it here, this course, one of the modules will talk about suicide care and suicide prevention. We'll cover the whole 9 yards. I have a pamphlet. I can't cover it here. Done 3 days already, and we're just scratching. So I'm just giving nuggets. And I understand we are not all professionals here. So I'm giving us the one for the layperson. I'm giving the one for professionals. I'm trying to cover every base. But in that course, it will be laser focused on you getting the skills on how to help those who are suffering from mental health and those who are suffering from addiction. We have professionals. It's not just me that teach it. We have other professionals. My wife, a nurse practitioner who has prescriptive rights, she will join us. She'll be teaching the mental health part. So this Saturday, 10 o'clock in Central, which is Houston time, I think it's 5 o'clock Nigeria and 6 o'clock South Africa. Join us in the open house and get more information. Thank you. God bless you. Unfortunately,